And this is a good one because this came from Chris, who's actually just left. So Chris, if you're watching this tomorrow, your question's first up. She'd just like to know what surface we're actually playing on. So the surface in Claudelands is carpet. So it's carpet tiles. They're the thin carpet tiles. There's no, we've instructed the venue to make sure there's 0 gaps. There's no, joins or anything like that. So yeah, just pretty simple, just carpet tiles, but the thin
on top of concrete.
Yeah, on top of concrete. And that's the same for the indoor bowls room and our room. Okay, so hopefully that answers Chris's question. And I will do that speed test tomorrow. I'm just waiting on the equipment to come to me in the morning. Full of questions here, and if you don't mind, Carol, I'll just read them out in any order if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so will there be a coach's timeout within the games? So just throughout the play, will there be opportunities for coaches timeout?
Yeah, there will. You get 30 seconds as per usual. Yeah, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Is that just once per game per coach, or?
I would have to just. What would be the normal for? Well, at international level one.
At international level, it was a minute once a game. Okay. Yeah, once a game. Not within the last 5 minutes.
What would you, as a group of coaches, prefer to do? Would you prefer to have a longer once, or maybe 30 seconds twice?
Gosh, I don't know. A minute's actually a long time.
Yeah, it is.
30 seconds twice.
Yeah. 30 seconds.
I mean, I don't know if that's governed. I didn't find it in the rules. It's not governed in the rules. No. So as a group of people who have showed up tonight, would your players be would they get benefit from having the opportunity to have 2 30-second coaches timeouts? Yeah, as opposed to just the one minute and having it wasted, because you'd only probably use up 20 seconds of it anyway, and then that's it, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 done 30 seconds.
Yep. 2 times 30 seconds per game.
Okay. 6 voting. Yep. Passed.
Sweet. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. I'll just make a note of that for you.
Do you think other coaches that are not on here tonight would have an issue with that?
Well, I don't think Logan would.
No. Probably something in the coaches' meetings as well before we start. Carol, just reinforce and just make sure everyone's aware of.
Yeah.
I don't think that'd be a problem at all. Still the same time. It's just
I know that I was told that it was 30 seconds. I wasn't told how many were allowed. So if we're in agreement as a group of coaches here, then 30 seconds times 2.
Cool.
It's not going to impact the run of the game. That's the maximum of 2 minutes per game.
Yep.
Okay. So just another question around
I'm not in the last 2 minutes. Not in the last 2 minutes of play.
Not in the last. Okay.
Yeah, not in the last 2 minutes of play.
So during play, will coaches be able to challenge? So an example that was shared here, if a ref makes the wrong call or an athlete's infringing in some way, will the coach be able to make a challenge?
If the coaches believe that the referees have infringed or have not made the correct call on a player infringement, then after that play has been completed and the referee has made a decision, they can then challenge. They get 1 challenge per game. If that challenge is successful and it's upheld, then they get subsequent challenges throughout the game. If you are unsuccessful in that challenge, you get no more challenges in that game. So that's to be used wisely.
Okay. So if a game's tied, Carol, does that come down to golden point, or will another full end be played?
1 complete full end will be played.
Okay.
At this point. Yeah, I think we thought of that in terms of fairness, because the players have practiced doing ends, and they practice doing a game where they get to throw one ball each in the teams, or two balls each in the pairs. If it was to come down to 1 point, one ball to be thrown each, it could throw them, and they're not used to that. That wouldn't show the best of their ability. However, it will be done as a continuation of play. No coin will be tossed, and it will just be if blue won the previous end, blue will start the next end regardless.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Important question here. Will there be a chair for coaches to sit courtside?
Is that normal? I'd say there would be.
Yeah, internationally
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
I would
double
imagine.
checked
I would
today.
imagine
There
so.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. And is it beside the court? Yes, it would be, because they change ends. They change the they change at the end of each end. They go to the opposite direction. So yes, it would have to be on the side of the court. Yeah.
What about athletes? We've got a couple of athletes with issues, mobility issues, and standing.
Anybody that needs to have a chair in between shots will have a chair provided for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good, and we'll make sure there's ample room in between courts, etc. Just to, yeah, there's heaps of space, so we'll be great. How many referees will there be on a court?
It will depend on the number that we get in the final cutoff for officials and volunteers. I know that we ideally would want to have 3 per court. So you'd want to have your flag judge, your line official, and your main referee that will call the game. If that fails, we will just have a line judge and a head referee. The least popular one for me would be just 1 court, 1 ref. I don't want to see that happen. I want to have a minimum of 2, but ideally 3.
Yeah, just this links to the next question around trained officials. So volunteers, it's still open. We've had a big day today, handing out 300 volunteer packs and people coming to pick all their stuff up. What we are trying to do is to get the volunteers to come to a training session after the opening ceremony. So we're hoping we can spend some time with the volunteers, the officials, just to train them up a little bit more prior to starting the following day. And then that probably links into, you could probably talk a little bit about that first day, Carol, if you'd like, around what we do.
So obviously divisioning is going to happen on day 1, and we'll set it, we because of the numbers that we've got, the numbers of players that we've got, we won't need an entire day for divisioning. So after divisioning has been completed and people know who they're playing with and what their class will be, then we're going to probably run the unified bocce version of the sport. So we'll do some unified stuff, and that's going to be our opportunity for the referees to get in there and get a dry run for practicing doing the refereeing, and because the rules are the same, we should be able to teach as we go, rather than teaching on Saturday and Sunday. I'm not teaching on Saturday and Sunday. It's Friday only, and hopefully Thursday as well. Thursday after the opening ceremony, we'll get some stuff done, like proper measure techniques, where to stand, how to start a game, how to end a game, how to handle a coach's challenge, how to handle timeouts. All those things will be covered, and then we'll use the unified version of the sport to actually put hands-on into play.
Just
teams are there?
You'll have to answer that one, Gary. I'm afraid I don't.
I will dig it out in a second, Anna. I will find that as we're talking. Just putting it out there that the unified is not part of the competition. It's just an additional opportunity.
Like have a go session.
Yeah, and our Manawatu crew are going to help us. They're going to take a bit of a lead on that because they're actively playing unified within the program, and it's got it's probably not a conversation for now, but there is a bigger piece around growing the unified space for bocce. So I think, you know, rather than just sending everybody off, there's a really cool opportunity. Get some more time on the courts, have some fun, play with different people, and coaches also get to have a game as well. So we will talk more about that. There's a slot there after the divisioning to make sure we can do that. I'll find that information in a minute for you, Anna. We've asked how soon after a game will results be posted, and what is the time frame to query the results?
I couldn't answer the first half of I can't answer the first half of that question because that will depend on the people who are using the system. But once they are posted, the time will be written on the bottom of the score sheet, on the bottom of the results, and you've got 20 minutes from that time to submit a protest if required.
Awesome. Okay, and that
has to be in writing, and I'm not sure what the cost is. There a cost factor for that?
Yeah, so there is. I've just let Chris into the room, but there is a $20. There's a $20 protest fee, but if your protest is successful, there's no charge. Okay, so look, we encourage you guys to protest if there is something wrong. We know things go wrong with data, human error, all that type of stuff. And I think it's an important part of the sport when we're obviously trying to govern the game by the book. It makes sense that you guys get that opportunity as well. Okay.
Yeah. And the protest procedure will be printed and displayed for people to know what the procedure is. I don't believe that you need to submit it in a particular format. It just needs to be written. My suggestion would be to include the violation, the rule that you believe has been violated, the actual, even if it's just the number of the rule from the rule book, the court that it was on, the referee, if you know the referee's name, the time that the game took place, obviously. But yeah, it's 20 minutes from the time that is actually posted up, the results are posted up.
So at the sports information desk, that'll be there. All the forms will be there for all that stuff. So that'll be there nice and clear. And on the form, it actually asks for the rule and stuff. And we'll even put a couple of copies of the rule book there, just so, you know, trying to find out what, if you know something's wrong, you don't always know the number of where that fits in the book as a coach. So it's good for you to be able to refer to that.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Matt.
Sorry, mate. I just got tied up by the job.
That's all good, mate. All good, mate. Absolutely fine. I just said I was a little bit worried because Chris is the man. He's never late.
So initially when a protest comes through to us, it will be myself plus, did we say it was going to be you as well, Chris, last night? We'll just call you from the next room if you're in the next room.
Yeah,
and one other. Yeah. Somebody who was not on the court at that time. And if you then have the right to appeal that decision as well after that's been done. And the 3 people who were involved in the first protest procedure will not be involved in the second protest procedure. So there'll be 3 different people. Most likely it will be Gary and 2 others.
Yeah. And that's the time frame around that. The appeal has to be done within 60 minutes.
Jill, we're going to cover that question very soon. That's a very important question.
Okay. All right. Chris, just before I start getting through Stacey's documents, do you know how many teams we have in the for bocce? Off the top of your head?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can find that, but we will be using 6 courts for the doubles and 4 courts for the teams. And not all the courts will be full for every round. So there will be, off the top of my head, there'll be 1 round, there'll be 6 courts used, then 4 courts and 6 courts. And then for the teams, I believe it's 4 courts in 1 court, 4 courts 1. So it doesn't make a lot in terms of the divisions. There's probably going to be 4 in a division at maximum at any one given time. I'll just try and find it for you.
Okay, thanks, Chris. I'll carry on with the questions. So that was all the submitted questions.
Okay.
But a question from Jill: what happens if an athlete has to pull out with COVID? Does the whole team have to forfeit?
If we had a good discussion on this last night, and we've decided that if in a team of 4, one person has to pull out because of COVID, that game will still be played, but each player will still only have 1 ball. So you will play that game with three balls. You won't get to have any of these players playing the 4th person's ball. Okay. In the case of a pairs game, one person pops out. You actually won't. You'll still be able to replace that person, but that game will be forfeit, and the scores won't be counted. But you can still play that game with a stand-in if you'd like to.
You guys
Yeah.
happy with
A
that?
stand-in from the people who already qualified for bocce. From the
I think that will be on a case-by-case basis. I think depending on what you as a coach come to us with and say, hey, I found this player, they're going to step in and play. Say David's popped out, he can't play, he's sick. But we found Gillian who's going to play.
it's unlikely to find someone, isn't it? Because we've only taken so many athletes. So
we do have one Anna. We have one spare player, but looking at that, there's 45 players, so that would be one player.
But if like say you got so say it's the pairs and you got. So we got one team, so we got 2 sets of pairs, and one of the pairs pulls out, and the other pair team aren't playing. Can they opt in and then play their other? Like if it's a bye on their pair round, do you see what I mean?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not following. Sorry.
So I've got 2 pairs.
Yep.
This one's got COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. These 2 are on a bye, so they're not playing. Can one of those go into that team?
If they agree to, I'm presuming they can. It just depends on whether they're happy to do that.
It'll probably be a default though.
It'll definitely be a default game.
Yeah. Okay.
The scores won't matter. So it just depends on whether they or their coach are happy for them to play that game at that time. Because if they've got to buy that round, they might welcome that buy time. And just not have, you just have that time to eat or catch up on fresh air or whatever. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, absolutely. If they're happy to play in place of that person, they're most welcome to do that. It's just that the scores for that won't be counted. It'll be a forfeit game. The pair that didn't have anyone drop out will automatically win that game. Now what they win by, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to figure that out with somebody in the know. So whether that's Olwen, do you have knowledge of what happens there? No.
No, no.
Okay. Because forfeit matches in a tournament, I think you get to decide what they win by. So they would win by a percentage of or an average of the scores within that group. So say if it was pool play, there would be a percentage or an average worked out, and that would be their winning score. So the average game would be 7-4 victory. So we will work it out before the day. We're not going to be trying to figure it out on the hop. We'll have something figured out and in writing before the first day, and we'll let you know on the coaches meeting prior to the start. Yeah.
Sorry, another silly question.
That's not silly. None of this is silly.
So
it's great.
If one of the pairs pulls out with COVID and there's nobody to substitute, is that other pair allowed to play on their own against as a single, basically, versus a pair? I know the game will be forfeited, but just for them to play, because otherwise,
they can play 1 against 1. That's not a problem. Yeah,
but can they play fine. 1 against 2? Because the other team might be good to go.
If it's a default game, then
it's a
default game. But otherwise,
really
the player's not playing all day. Otherwise, all the games would be default. But
it makes sense to do that, Anna. Yeah, to do that. I mean, we need to give them.
I would give them as much court time as possible if they're scheduled on court for that time to play against a team that can't make a team, then a pair. Then let's just have them play. And even if it's that one player gets to roll all the 4 balls, against that pair that exists, then yeah, for sure, I can see no problem with that. Yeah, just so long as they know it's a forfeit game, regardless of the result. So if they win 12-0, they don't get a 12-0 score automatically. It'll be whatever has been decided. Yeah.
I could probably answer this next question that's come through, Jill. So what if they pull out between now and the games? Can we substitute and bring another athlete in? At this stage, the program is set, but we are getting this is happening. So up until day one program is fully locked and loaded, we've been allowing it. I would have to put it to the games team. I don't think it would. I think we'd be able to. I just think I'd have to lead that conversation on your behalf.
Yeah, I just think I've got my sound on now. It would be heartbreaking if you had one person pull out of a team and you told the other team members, sorry, mate, you know, your one team member's pulled out, you got a forfeit.
The only issue we've got, Jill, is accommodation and
No, but we wouldn't be bringing that person with COVID. So what I'm saying is, if somebody got COVID in 3 days' time,
someone would take that place fully.
somebody would take that place,
Yeah.
and we would bring that person up as opposed to the person with COVID.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Because it would be horrible for the other team members to go, well, we've got a forfeit because of this one player.
So I can't give you a 100% yes, but what I can say is if that happens, and this is for any club, that'd be a case-by-case basis, and it'd need to come through to me from your club. So it wouldn't just be Gary and Jill having a chat. It would be the club need to come directly to Sons, because I'd have to advocate for that with the games team, because obviously there's stuff around qualification.
Well, yeah,
medical,
but
as long as everybody had everything ticked off.
Yeah, it wouldn't be somebody that was totally, it would be up to the manager or the team, you know, that we know what people have been playing. If we've got somebody that's been playing bocce,
100%. Yeah. If they're, so there'd be some hoops we have to go through and talk about, and
it's not like we've got blind scores or anything like that, like 10 pin that you have to worry about. Yeah.
And I think just, I don't mind sharing this, the philosophy we've got is, we have to be flexible, and but there is a line. So like we are in that last week, so there've been no promises whatsoever, but I would definitely be able to have a conversation for you on your behalf with the games team.
Yeah,
because this could happen right up until the day before travel, or even the day off travel.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
And we're asking clubs to do rat tests and all that type of stuff. Because it's really important, and we just don't know what's going to come up. So look, soon, if that does happen, I hope it doesn't, just make contact straight away with your club and get them to come straight to me and the games team.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
No worries. Great question though. That's all the questions in the chat.
Does anyone have any questions about divisioning? Or are your clubs okay with that? Have they been through the divisioning process before?
We practice divisioning a lot.
Okay.
I will be honest with Rotorua. This is their first time. I'm the manager. I'm not the sports, person for bocce. I don't think they've been doing a lot of practicing at all with divisions or anything. So it's all, I would hope that people look kindly on Rotorua, because they are really, really raw.
I think the only team. I don't think you're the only club that hasn't done.
I think Anna, we've only played one lot with your guys, and that's all they've played. So
Thames Valley, we'd like to hear about divisioning. That'd be cool if you could.
Okay, I'll just briefly talk you through it. So basically what happens is on day one, they're given a time slot that they've got to be at a certain court. There'll be chairs for everybody, and we're going to do it we'll do this action from both ends of the court. What happens first is the coach will allow one person into the court at one time. They will have 8 balls to throw. There's 3 different distances. The Polina is placed at 1 distance. They throw 8 balls, all 8 balls. This is the only time they'll be allowed to throw both colors in the same end. So they can throw all 8 balls at that target. We then measure the closest 3 to that, mark those down in centimeters on a score sheet. Then from the same place, they get to throw 8 balls to a different measurement. So the next measurement is 3 different lengths of the court that they get to throw to. And the same procedure happens. They throw 8, we measure the closest 3. And that's them done. They'll have a final score that'll be tallied up, and that will be their divisioning score. Prior to throwing the 8 balls at the first target, the coach is allowed to assist in terms of like coaching assistance, not actually throwing assistance. So the player will roll 1 ball out. You can then come in as a coach and go, you might need to do it a little bit softer, a little bit harder, maybe try bending down on one knee, do whatever you do as a coach to try and get them to be closer to the Polina. They can throw a second ball, and again, the coach is allowed to come in and coach them. Those 2 balls are then removed, and the 8 balls to the 3 destinations starts. Okay, so yeah, it's a process, but if you know as a coach that you're allowed to coach them for the first 2 balls of the entire process, then you are that's your right, and then you go out of the court and you be really quiet, and zip. And then the measurements are done with a tape measure that has numbers on it, and basically we're measuring in centimeters from the Polina to the played ball, and the closest 3 to the Polina get measured and marked down, added up, and that's your score. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward. Once they've done it once, they'll know exactly what to do at the next event. But just to know that it may be confusing for the players who haven't been allowed to throw or get confused at which color they're supposed to throw. So it might be a good time to have a conversation with them about, yeah, you are allowed to throw the red one and the green one this time. And it doesn't matter the order. It doesn't matter if they pick up a red one and then pick up a green one, they can throw one after the other. They can still not have that ball counted if they step over the line. That ball doesn't get counted, so they have to still remain behind the throwing line. Yeah, okay. And again, only 1 player allowed in to the throwing area at any time, and everyone else remains seated. So yeah, is that a fairly good explanation as to what happens?
Excellent.
Yeah, very
cool.
Have,
Awesome.
Carol, have we clarified that there is only just the 5 players that require the sighted cone or bell?
We haven't asked that question. Do any of your players require a sighted cone? No, we do have 5 on the list, and you'll see those. Have you ever seen play happen where a sighted cone has to be utilized? Or a bell? No. So before that player, the player has to be identified prior to competition, and it's noted on the scores on the referee's sheet. So we pick up the sheet, we bring it to court. We will know at that point that there is a player that requires a sight assistance. So once it's their turn to play, we will place the cone in line with the Polina. Once the ball has been released, we remove that visual aid and step out of the court to allow the ball to interact with the rest of the court.
We have 1 player, and I'm not sure that they have indicated that we've got 1 player that will require that.
Which club are you, Jill?
Rotorua.
Yeah, so what I've got 1 from Mana, 1 from Hawke's Bay, 1 from Rotorua, which is Amelia.
Yep.
And 2 from Horonua, and 2 from Hawke's Bay, 2 from Horonua, 1 Mana, and 1 Rotorua. So if there are any others that haven't indicated, now's the time. And also if there are any players that require to use a ramp as well, because they need a bit of a too.
Yeah, we need to check the ramp. Yeah, we need to check all ramps before they're allowed on the field, on the pitch. Yep. Court. I'll get my language right. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about.
We have a volunteer that calls the Polina a placenta, so
Ew.
Don't put that
Oh,
stuff in my head.
no.
No, no, that'll be me now you've said it. I'll end up saying that.
Well, they're yellow, so it's okay. We can't get a visual on them. Yeah, so we have chosen to go with the larger Polina. So we're getting 6 large Polinas, and they're yellow, so that they'll be easily contrastable against the grey carpet and the white borders. So yeah, and all the bocce balls are the same size. They're all the 107s.
107s. Brilliant.
Yeah.
That was one of my questions that I forgot to put in. Stupid question. Are we using competition size courts? I'm assuming we are. As opposed to
Gary, you can have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
As far as we're aware, Olwen, so they're coming in from different areas of the country. I think the majority of the Packer World
Yeah, as far as we're all on the Packer World ones, and all 60 by 12s. That is what I'm told, and I'm hoping that when they all turn up, they're all 60 by 12.
Yeah, well, you might see me and Chris stuttering a little bit because, and I don't mind stitching the man up while we're recording because I'll get him to watch this. We got told he had 4 courts. Turns out it was 1 court spread over 4 bags. When we made him lay it out and measure and stuff, he went, "Oh, it's actually just 1 court. Sorry, we thought it was 4."
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
4 edges.
So
Yeah,
cool,
okay.
thanks, Chris.
And the lines, the throwing lines, and the what is it, the 40-foot, the 50-foot, and the 30-foot. Terrible at measures. Anyway, they'll be done by 3M tape. Is that right, Chris?
If we don't have, some of the courts may have the ribbons with them. If they do, that's great. But if they don't, we'll be using a tape. Yeah, just tape along. Yeah,
Okay.
Ours doesn't have anything with it, Chris. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Anna.
What was that, Anna?
I don't have tape or anything with the one I'm giving you. So
Oh, okay,
cool.
right on. That's fine. I mean, as long as we can have the areas marked off and they're solid, and I will check, or I'll get my referees to check prior to the start of each game that the line is still intact, the throwing lines are still intact, so that and that the courts are still lined up with the throwing lines.
Awesome. Yeah, look, at a big shout out from us to you guys in the clubs that are supporting us with equipment. We really appreciate it. It's great that our athletes get to use the best competition equipment at the nationals. So it's great. So thank you.
Really good.
Any other questions, guys?
And length of games, did you say 30 minutes for teams? Was it 30 minutes?
40 for teams, 30 for doubles.
Oh, cool. 40 for teams. Okay, thank you. That's good.
In terms of us starting and ending the games, would you prefer whistle or just a verbal announcement, or what would be something that would be okay in your worlds?
Depends. I mean, and my athletes are fine with anything, but other athletes may not be happy with whistles.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of sensory issues, and also like if somebody's got reactions, like athetoid reaction to a loud shrill sound. I'm just trying to figure out if there's going to be a way to let people know at exactly the same time.
Probably if it's only, you need some way to signal that they all start at the same time.
Yeah,
I have a whistle, Carol. I'll bring it for you to test. It's a whistle that doesn't have a P in there, so it's not like a referee. Yeah, it's not really sharp, and I used to use them for when I'm teaching. So you're not.
Oh yeah.
A lot of our RSCs use them in schools for because we go into the unknown quite a bit.
Okay.
But again,
you're only using 6 courts, so you could even use a small barrel. It doesn't have to be too loud, because with 6 courts, you're not going to be too far apart.
No,
that's it. Yeah.
So realistically, it doesn't have to be anything too sort of obscenely loud.
Yes, exactly. And I was thinking as well, Owen, for the starting of the games, that I would just announce, let the games begin, and then the timer would start, because I would want my referees to actually stand at the end of the court to signal to me that they are ready to begin the game. And once I can see everybody is ready to start, then I will get everyone to walk up and present the Palina and start the games at the same time.
That would work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Are there, have we got scoreboards? I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Gary. Are they having
Yeah.
the flip over scoreboard?
We're
Is it
using
flip overs?
yours. We're
I think
using
you're using,
yours.
yeah,
all
the ones from your club.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, are they borrowed from basketball, maybe?
That's okay.
That's
If
fine.
basketball doesn't know, they won't hurt.
They probably will be though. The flip over ones, I think, which is Mike said he's got 6 scoreboards. So I'm assuming they're like those volleyball ones or the basketball ones that just flip
Yeah.
over that.
Cool. That's awesome.
Brilliant. And we're going to be using paddles, not flags. So
Mm.
we'll be using colored paddles to indicate the color who has to play. And we'll be indicating the color to play, not the color that's in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Mm. I think I've asked all mine.
Okay.
Arthur,
If
have you
there's
got any
more
questions? Sorry.
If there's more questions that come to mind, you can always just flick them through to Gary, and we'll make sure that we get answers for you. And also just mark down anything that comes to mind and ask it at the coaches briefing. Yeah.
There'd be a coaches meeting each day before game, before game, or
If you'd
just
like.
'cause
I know that I'll be wanting to do a referees meeting prior. So I'm sure we can factor in a coaches meeting prior as well.
Generally, you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, we have a head coaches meeting just prior to the first one, so probably sort of 9:30ish. Just prior to the say 10 o'clock start. 9:30,
Okay.
9:45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can just ask questions, because some stuff that might come up the previous day in previous day's play, you'll want to get clarification on it. You know, a ruling that might have gone not your way the day before, just highlight it to the rest of the coaches so that we can then either dispel any myths or put your minds at ease. Yep. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, just one thing.
Yeah.
If you have a player that drops the ball just at the start there and it rolls over, is that going to be classed as a throw or
It's a
not?
played ball. If it crosses the line, it's a played ball. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The
If it
as long as there was
doesn't-
an
yeah,
as
if
long
it
as there was
doesn't
an
cross,
action of throwing.
yeah, if it doesn't cross the line and it's an action of throwing, it's still a play ball as well, and it's taken out. But if
It's
it doesn't,
removed.
if it's just dropped and there's no effort to have made to play the ball, then it's not classed as a play ball if it doesn't go over the line. So
So a player can quite conceivably pick up. So something might be happening out in the middle of the court. The referees might still be deciding who's closest, who's in, but they've semi-indicated who is going to play. So that player is already ready and they're in the throwing area. They will have picked up the ball from the back of the court and brought it with them to the throwing line. If they then just place the ball down on the court behind the throwing line, that's not a played ball. However, if they have gone into the action, the throwing action, whether that's a legal or an illegal throwing action above waist height, and the ball drops and remains behind the line, that ball is played and removed. If it drops and lands across the line, that ball is played and will remain where it is. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Arthur. No worries. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you've read all my. You've answered all the questions I had. Anybody
We'll
else?
see you next week, Jill.
Yeah. See you, Jill.
Thanks for your questions.
And I'll send
Thank
the
you.
link out, Jill. I did see your other question. I'll send the link out for Chris. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Much
No worries.
appreciated. Much
No worries.
appreciated. Look forward to next week.
See you next
Yeah.
week.
Same.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, guys. I'll stop